Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight, oh, the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare of they proved through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave for the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Pictures I can show it to you, and I can't do it myself. She's in my office now. I have her in my office. 你的问题他就帮你解决了，观音就帮你解决。She's the one I have to know. 你到了，观音就帮你解决。这个你可以不带，但是它是保护你的。你遇到任何困难，你就把它拿到手，就念观音，然后你就想你遇到什么困难了，他就帮你解决，他就帮你解决。
Hello, my name is Ethan. Thank you. My name is Ethan, and today I'll be sharing about 百善孝为先 or filial piety, and also my growth journey after being introduced to this monastery since the age of 4.5, I believe, or like 5, and then like my growth since that. So today this is like the main topic, as you can see over there, 百善孝为先. And you might be thinking, okay, so what do these 5 characters really mean? That's a lot of Chinese. Well, let's break it down. So the first character is 100, 百, which means 100. The second one is 善, and this can mean a lot of different meanings in different contexts, from things such as kindness or being nice. And in this context, it will mean acts of kindness. And 孝, which I think is like the really core concept of my presentation today, which is filial piety, which I'll dive deeper into on later slides. And then 为 means to be, and 先 is first. So you might be putting the puzzle pieces together, and you might be thinking, okay, so it's probably like, you know, there's a lot of different types of kindnesses, and filial piety is first. And you are not wrong. In fact, what this thing means is, of the hundreds of acts of kindnesses, filial piety is the most important of all. And I think if you're able to uphold this and really understand what this means, then it's really easy for you to become a transparent and upright human being, which I think is really the end goal of everyone, is to just be, a really good, moral citizen. Yeah. And so, according to dictionary.com, filial piety means in Confucianism the important virtue and primary duty of respect, obedience, and care for one's parents and elderly family members. And I think dictionary.com got this definition pretty accurate. In fact, it seems to be exactly what the ancient Chinese intended for this character to look like. As known, Chinese characters are really depictive, so you don't necessarily know what it pronounces to, but you can clearly understand what it means through through the way that the character is composed. And as you can see, right now we have a younger person, possibly the son of the older person, and he's carrying the father, and it seems like the father is probably immobile or really needs help in transportation, and the son is, I guess, gladly helping his father. And it's really interesting because it's really two Chinese characters mushed together. On top, it is the character for old, and the bottom is the character for son or a younger person. And if you mush them together, you get the character of xiao, which is pretty interesting. Yeah. Now you might be wondering, okay, so why filial piety, and why is it the most important of all? I mean, after all, there's a bunch of different acts of kindnesses that seem to have greater value and merit, such as donating one's kidney or donating a bunch of money to a non-profit organization. So why is filial piety so core and so important? Well, first of all, I think it's really important to acknowledge that without our parents, we won't be here today. And so, straight up from birth, I think I already owe my parents a lot, because they could have chosen to abort me, but instead they decided to go through 9 months of labor just to have me. And then I also recently found out that it costs a lot of money to give birth at a hospital. Right when a child is born, you get paid $19,000, like there's a $19,000 bill. So aside from 9 months, I'm also in debt to them by $19,000 immediately. And I think this is really important because without my birth, I won't be here today. And then also, I think stability. They give a lot of stability to me, whether or not it's having a stable family structure, having a stable financial environment. I think a lot of this is really in debt to them, and being able to have a stable family, I think really pushes us students, and also really helps benefit us to become a better person. And then I think the other one is well-being. Whether it's emotional well-being or financial well-being, I find that my parents are the first people that I go to consult for advice, whether or not it's for schoolwork, whether or not it's for drama that happens at school, or things to work on, majors to choose in college, and especially loans right now for college. But they're able to provide me with the ability to make me feel really sound and safe, and I feel like that's really important as well. I'm really in debt to them in that area, and also care. I think in general, this can apply to many different things. I know that when I go home, my parents are able to provide me with a warm meal when I go home, and it's really fortunate for me to have that. And also, when I'm sick and it's not important or serious enough to go to the emergency room, they're there to care for me, take my temperature, give me medicine, and I want to say sorry to them because I don't know how many times I've caught the school flu or the cold and I passed it on to them, and they've been innocent. But yeah, they've also had to suffer with me a lot, and so much more. And so I think there's all of these and a lot of more different areas are just places where our parents have really cared for us and provided for us, and in return, I think this is why filial piety is so important, is to really respect them, because without them, all of this wouldn't have happened, and so much more. And so I always thought that I'm a really kind person. I would help people when they needed help with math, with English or something. I would help grandmas walk across the street. I thought I was a really kind person. But since a young age, I really never truly grasped the whole idea of filial piety. And so really this comes to the moral dilemma of, can you be a kind person and also not have filial piety at the same time? And I've come to the conclusion that no, it is impossible, because it does not make sense for you to be nice to other people, but you can't do that to your parents as well. I think it just seems like it's really contradicting. How can you helping others today, but not help your parents with like the smallest task if they even ask. And so I think in general, I've come to the conclusion that I'm not kind until I really understand what filial piety means and really upheld that. And so, I have a lot of flaws, not just 5, and I think today it's really my time to tell you about my flaws, how I've really committed these mistakes, and then how I've tried to improve on top of it. I'm still not a perfect person. I still am an offender sometimes, and I've tried my best to improve upon them. Yeah, so I think the first one is lying to my parents. I think this, it goes small to big. I've lied to them about my schoolwork, my grades, the small things, but I've also lied to them about even more serious things. In fact, even concealing it. So I remember once in like 2nd grade, there was a school fundraiser for leukemia patients, for children at the St. Jude's Hospital, and every single classroom had a nice little pumpkin where we can put like coins in there and loose change if we wanted to donate, and all of the funds would be allocated for the leukemia patients. And I thought that, hey, I should probably do something, to help them. But I didn't have any money on me. So every night before I went to sleep, I would go downstairs and while my parents were asleep, and then there was a little plate, woven plate of just coins that my parents had because they used change probably that day, and it was just loose change. And I would take a few. And then afterwards I would go to school and I would throw it into the pumpkin, and I would be like, wow, I did something really good today. But really, was it a good thing if I lied to my parents and also stole from them? I think it really, it's like my intentions were good, but why did I have to lie, or why did I have to steal from them, without them knowing? I'm sure that if I were today to tell them honestly about my intentions, I'm sure that they would have, I'm sure that they would have let me take the coins, if not even giving me even more to donate to them happily. And so I think the next one is to argue. Arguing, I think, with my parents is something that's always been happening throughout the years. It can be the smallest things, it can be big things, whether or not it's like my actions, time management. I think, learning time management has, it was really through my parents and through arguing with them. Because it sounds really funny, but but basically my time management has never been really good. And in general, this has led me to sleep really late. This has led me to abuse my electronics, and my parents would, in return, confiscate them. And I would argue with them, why are you confiscating my electronics? They're mine, I can play with them. And they'll be like, okay, well, you're not managing your time well. You're not doing your homework when you need to. You're not sleeping before this. You're sleeping at like 12, at 1 for a 6th grader, which is absolutely really late for you, not really good for you. And, I've come to realize that instead of just arguing with them and really being down, taking a step back and assessing what went wrong, what led to the confiscation. And from a very young age, especially I think during puberty, I've been really rebellious. And so there was this once in 6th grade when there was a ball, or like this dance party basically, held at our school hosted by the school. And I wanted to go, but I had Algebra 1 homework to do. And so I told my parents, hey, I can do this after I come back from the dance party, and then I'll do it, and then I'll go to sleep. And so I come back quite late at around 11 p.m. and then I start doing it, but I can't understand, how to factor the equation. And so I ended up giving up and I went to sleep. And what I didn't know was my mom actually woke up, checked my homework, realized that I didn't finish it, and she woke me up and she went, okay, why are you lying to me? Right? You said that you would finish it, you didn't finish it. And this has been happening before. It's math homework, English homework, it's always been a struggle for me. And so this it wasn't the first time. And she was really done with me. And also this was during the night as well. And she pulled me downstairs, and she just wanted to kick me out of the house. And so I remember, I was yeah. Quite literally. And I remember, crying, I was yelling, she was scolding me, and she was just dragging me towards the front door until my dad came down. She was like, okay, you know what, let's stop this, it's late in the night, just go to sleep. And so, really, okay, I'm in debt to my dad now, because, he saved me from getting kicked out that night. But also, this all wouldn't have happened if I didn't lie, and didn't uphold to my stand or uphold to my words. And also, if I just sat down and really talked her through, how the confusion I had with the factoring, maybe this could have gone like a totally different route instead of getting nearly dragged out the door. And so the last one I think is to annoy, not necessarily to annoy my parents directly, but annoy my parents through quarrels with my sister. And so I think it's like a well-known fact that sometimes siblings can get a little bit annoying, both sides, and I've done my fair share. And so sometimes when both of us, whether it's me taking something from her or her taking a pen from me, and sometimes we'll just want to have it back immediately because we don't like that. And sometimes I would admit I would do it for like attention, from her, just to like get her cranky and get her whining, for the day because I feel like it was too peaceful. And so, but sometimes I realize that when she does it to me, that it wasn't really uncomfortable, and I would really yell at her, tell her to give it back, and my mom would be cooking, and she'd be like, "What the heck is happening?" And she's trying to do two things at once, and she's wearing a lot of hats, and it's just a lot for her. And so I realized that sometimes if I stop, first of all, annoying my sister, and also I don't give the attention my sister wants, then a lot of things can resolve themselves and maybe not even happen in the first place. And so in the end, I've shared a lot of my flaws, and you might be wondering, okay, so how have I shown filial piety? And so I think really instead of so I think the way I've been showing filial piety is improving upon my mistakes. So instead of lying, I've come to become more honest with them and more open. Anything I'm open to sharing, anything I need, instead of lying to them, what I'm going to be doing today, instead of telling, oh, I'll be at the friend's house when I'll be somewhere else. The other one, instead of stealing, instead of just not stealing, I realized that I can help them also. Whether or not it's with like dishes or with cooking or with helping my sister with homework, so they don't have to spend time out of their day to also help my sister, and they can relax for a little bit. And also, instead of quarreling, I realized that I can just like speak with them, sit down and talk it, have an open discussion. It's much more effective anyways. And instead of annoying with my sister, to be at peace with my sister instead. To treat each other with respect, to not cross each other's boundaries, and of course, whenever each one of us needs help, to always provide it. And so with that, I wanted to thank you for listening to my presentation. Yeah.
Well, I really love the presentation.
Thank you so much.
Sometimes even just acknowledging that you made your mistakes in life, it's a healing.
Yeah.
Because it's kind of like you said you went to Catholics. You know how they do confessions?
Yes.
And confession, it's a healing. So
like
it's kind of like
repent
a
as well.
confession. Yes.
Yeah.
It's just healing. Because I go back in my life, we all make mistakes. I say, wow, I wish I could have done this, I should have done that. So then at least when you release it out to the universe, at least it's a healing process.
You say it out loud.
You feel much better.
You feel much better.
Yeah, the weekly repenting.
Yeah.
原来他第一次上我家来，他爸搁这儿还把他打了，他哭了。他说这么听话的，学佛之后就是学做人，我们就是学做人之后跟着，改变了很多措施，真的
The
是好
first
现
time
在。
she met him, that his dad has been spanked because of misbehaving or something.
原来呢还愿意搞对象呢，原来还喜欢女孩子，现在彻底的不是我的我不要，现在彻底的就是做好人，做个好人，照顾他。原来也是正常的，这么大岁数对小孩正常的，这个现在这年轻人能够想着自己不和女孩子这个事情上去。
Have to refrain
如果
from
和女孩子呀，那就完了。
relationships.
那他不会学不动做
Not
人
being too early until it's time.
这孩子现在真的是。
Not to-
那就第二个讲吧。
Hi, my name is Jocelyn Liu, and I'll be talking about how I learned to become a better human throughout my life. So my main topic about what I'll be talking about today is this phrase in Chinese is called 百善孝为先. So 百善孝为先, it means to be a good human being, one has to be filial to their parents, like first, like you have to respect your parents, you have to respect your elderly, respect those like around you. Yeah. So now, how exactly does this relate to me? Well, when I was younger, I was like the most disobedient kid ever. Like, I was very rebellious, and it would cause my grandma and my parents to have like a lot of worries about me because like I had like a really bad attitude against them, and I always like didn't want to listen to them. So in my life, I think I have done like 3 major things that have caused a lot of anger and worry to both my grandma and my parents. So my first thing is stealing. A very bad habit that I had since like elementary school, and I'll go into in more depth later. And then the second one is lying, and then the third one is being rude and being very disrespectful. So in elementary school, I picked up a habit of stealing or shoplifting. Some of the common items that I took were like toys, candies, or like little small things that fit in my pocket. And it's like all the things I took were basically items that every little kid would desire, right? Like all the best toys, like some of the good candies out there that like maybe your parents wouldn't get you because they're like expensive or very like childish or something. And then after like I would steal these items, I would like hide them amongst my pile of things at home, and I had like a lot of things at home already. Like there were piles here and there, all over the place. And then whenever my parents like they find something new in my pile, they'd be like, "Hey, I've never seen this before. Like, where'd you get it from?" Then I started up my habit of lying. I go like, I got it from some close friend at school. And then like my parents, they would never believe me. Like just judging by the looks of their face, they're like, there's no way. So this one instance of me stealing like has left a very deep impression of me till this day. So this one time I went shopping with my parents, and while my parents were browsing the store, I was like slowly walking behind them. And then I was looking around, I was looking left, looking right. I was like, okay, this thing looks cool. I'll just take it. So as long as it was small enough, I would just like put it in my pocket. And then like my parents they didn't know until like after we left the store. And then by then like my pockets were like full. They were like big. Yeah. And then like they didn't notice until things started spilling out of my pockets. Yeah. And then after that, my mom, she ended up dragging me back to the store. She was like, okay, empty out your pockets in this basket. We're gonna go back into the store, put everything back where it belongs. And that day I was really mad because I was like, how come I have to put everything back? Like, I want everything, and I wasn't able to get anything. And then thinking back on it now as like a more mature person, like I can realize that it's like it was very foolish of me to be like stealing things here and there. Like if I had wanted stuff, maybe I could have literally just asked my parents. Like back then, I just thought that my parents would never get it for me because everything was like expensive. And then this leads to the question of why did I shoplift back then? Like back then I shoplifted because like I thought my parents wouldn't get it for me. I was like a very spoiled child. Like I wanted everything. And then like I thought it was fun. And then after that, like after learning, I was able to kind of understand that, you know, stealing wasn't good. And then like yeah. And then there was like I didn't even stop at like shoplifting. Like sometimes I would like steal stuff from like maybe my classmates, my friends. I would take stuff from home, and then because I just felt like I was superior, you know, I deserved to have everything in the world. And then this one time at home that like I was we had this one room at home, and then it was like where everything was. It was like kind of my mom's stuff, and then I would frequent that room. Like I would go in, I would dig through. I would be like, okay, I like this thing. I'll just take it. And my mom would find out, and then like after some time, she ended up like banning me from going into the room because I was there too often. So with my habit of stealing, I ended up growing my habit of lying, and I ended up lying to my parents a lot throughout my life. over like some basic things, maybe like school or like something stupid that I had done. Maybe like I was like mean to my brother, and I would just lie to them. I would be like, oh no, I didn't do this, and then I would also get like lectured pretty badly and beaten sometimes. So especially like after stealing, right? I go through this loop. The first one, I'd steal, right? And then the next, I get a lecture. Then these lectures, they last forever. Like my dad's lectures are like, they can last a few hours if he really wanted to lecture me. And then, so I still get a lecture from my dad or my mom, sometimes a beating. And then after that, I have this build-up rage. Like this rage, it was like kind of your very typical child's rage, like whenever your parents lecture you, you hate them, right? I hated my parents. I wished sometimes that I was born to different parents. Like, I just hated them to that point because every time they lectured me or they beat me, it hurt, right? It hurt my feelings because I was like, why did I deserve to be beaten? And then after that, like, after they were done, I'd run over to my room and then close the door, cry on my bed, and then I'd start cursing at them. I'd be like, oh, why are my parents like this? Like, why do they always have to lecture me? And then I would end up like, you know, getting over that within like 15 minutes. And then I'd forget about whatever they lectured me about, like within like 30 minutes. And then repeat the whole cycle all over again. So this didn't even like only limit to stealing. I've done a lot of other bad deeds when I was younger. And yeah. So when my grandmother moved in with us, this was like around when I was in elementary school. And I also gave her like a hard time at home. So my grandma and I would get into like a lot of disagreements because I wouldn't help her do things. Like she would call me over, I pretend not to hear. And then I would like sometimes when she started yelling at me, I would yell back at her. We all know that like that's wrong, right? But back then I was like very ignorant, like I didn't know anything. And so this one time I had like a very large disagreement with my grandma, and I said one sentence to her that like I feel like really bad saying till this day. And this sentence was, "You don't deserve to live with us." Because I thought that I was the boss, you know, I was like superior in my family. And then after that, like, after I said the sentence to her, I could tell by her feelings, she was like really hurt that day. And then, like, till this day, like, I feel very bad that I said it. So I've been like trying to kind of correct myself since then. And then towards the end of elementary school and through middle school, my grandma was actually the one who sent me to and from school. So we'd walk to school every morning and then walk back during the afternoon. And then back then we had this like little cart thing that we used to put my backpack in. And on days that like that I had to bring my instrument, I would take my instrument, run a long distance in front of her, and force my grandma to be like the one behind me and like chasing me. And my grandma is, you know, she's an elderly and she has difficulties walking. And sometimes, you know, she'd be like really mad at me by the time we arrived at school. And then, like, I wouldn't really care. Like, I would be like, oh, you know, it's, you know, I have to go to school. I have to make it to school. Like, sometimes we were late, it's my fault, because I was the one who was, like, slow at home. And then, honestly, it should have been, like, my responsibility that I would be taking my backpack instead of her, and I should have just walked with her instead of, like, having her chase me. And then, oftentimes at home, like, when my parents were out at work, I would be the one stuck with my brother at home along with my grandma. And those times especially were the worst. Like, I would get into very large arguments with my brother over like little stupid things. Maybe like he called me something that I really didn't. And then I would start yelling back at him. And then there were times where I had actually locked my brother outside in the backyard because I got really pissed off at him. And then my grandma would yell at me to let him back in. And then obviously I would disobey. And then my brother would do the same thing to me because he learned from me. Yeah. So since then, like my grandma and my parents, like with all my bad acts, like they didn't know what to do. They were just stuck in a loop of not knowing what to do anymore because I was like like a hopeless human being already. And then after that, like I would, you know, get like all these lectures, all the beatings, and then still just ignore whatever they say, still have like bad attitude towards them. So this one day, around like middle school, my mom told me to go to the monastery to Dragon Mountain, and I didn't know what we were going up to Dragon Mountain that day for. But that day when we got there, we were repenting on like all the bad things that we did in the past. So then I was like, okay, maybe I'll repent a little bit about like how I stole, and then maybe I'll repent a little bit about like my lying. So then at that moment, after like I started repenting, I saw a vision. I was able to see Guan Yin Bodhisattva. Like I could see his feet and I could see the lotus flower that he was standing on, but I could not see his face. So that day, it was kind of like a turning point for me. Like I was finally able to understand, like if I were to, you know, change my bad habits, you know, like it will be for the better. And then after that, I basically like tried my best to stop stealing, and then I limited my lying too. And then with my grandma, I tried to treat her better. Like whenever she needed help, I do like the best of my ability to help her. And then after that, like after that, I was able to kind of finally like understand like how to be like a person, right? So through my life, I've learned kind of like a few things that like I still try my best to like apply to my daily life. So the first thing is to understand like what is going on and realize that's for the better. Like whenever my parents lecture me, you know, it's for the better. Whenever they beat me, it's for the better. Like I just did something stupid, you know. Like I should be able to like appreciate them since I'm basically like kind of in debt to them since they're the ones who've been taking care of me since like little. And then the second thing is to don't get into arguments. So I try my best like at home to not get into arguments with my brother since it also causes like a lot of stress within my family too. And then like my grandma would stress, my parents would stress. So now like I would do my best to take care of my brother. Like whenever I'm at home, like maybe he'll be like annoying or something, I'll do my best not to yell at him. And then that way, like my parents don't have to worry about me, my grandma doesn't have to worry about me, and they can just do whatever they need to do. And then the third thing that I learned is to actually step up and take care of my family. Like I take care of my brother, and then whenever my parents need help or my grandma needs help, I just help them to the best of my ability. Yeah.
Care is a healing, and also comes forgiveness, both with your parents, your grandma. It's an inner forgiveness, and that is a beautiful thing that you did to share. Thank you so much.
You can tell who the parents are already, right?
You be a better person, so you're just for you to do this, it made you a better person. Raise me up to be more than I can be. Honesty, integrity, all those values that he embellishes.
Yes.
Because we need spiritual food.
Yeah.
We need prophets that teach us the way how to live to be good human beings, so we can honor Him, honor God.
Yeah.
What a
Right?
perfect song to be.
Her belt for some good.
I know.
Really well.
Thank you. Everybody doing
Hi everyone, my name is Allison, and today I'll be talking about discovering the essence within my journey to find myself.
少扎点上，
So a little
以到
bit,
为准啊。
okay, so a little bit about myself. I'm a senior at UC Irvine, double majoring in chromatics and music performance. And some of my hobbies include, family swims, babysitting my little cousins, and playing chamber music. Along with this trip I took to Helsinki. So for this presentation, I'll be talking about my past self, like my journey. Essentially all the wrongdoings I did that led to karma for me to go through, including stomach pain and reflecting upon myself. And then after I reflected upon myself, I thought about how do I become a better person? It's through maybe generosity, cherishing, and love of things. And then thinking about what's next, what am I up to today? So this was in the past, before I used to harm animals, where I was a person who enjoyed eating raw sushi, including fish roll, eating meat and killing, any bugs that came near me, like mosquitoes. Oh man, I don't want you here. So, okay. And then selfishness. So an idea I had that always stuck to my head was the Scholastic Book Fair. So when I was young, I really wanted to get the newest books that came out, such as the Rainbow Magic or Magic Tree House. But then my parents would always say oh, we cannot get these books. We can borrow it at the library instead. So I just felt very sad about it. Oh, why can't I get these new books? So this led to the next phase of stealing. So I ended up stealing money from my dad's wallet and just saying, oh, maybe I could, purchase these books for myself through, stealing money from my dad's wallet. And then when my parents asked, oh, where did you, get these books from? I don't even know where you got these money from. So I ended up saying, oh, I used my red pocket money. So that's kind of lying, right? And then all these wrongdoings led to karma. So I ended up one day at school, I just had to deal with a lot of stomach pain. I couldn't even go to school for several days. I didn't understand why. I even went to a doctor appointment and asking oh, how do I cure this stomach pain? I don't know why it comes on and off. And their idea was, oh, I think it's probably the flu, you just need to recover and rest. And then I started having the idea of oh, since my parents went to Buddhism events at temple, maybe I could try it and see what maybe that will maybe cure that, right? So some of the events they did was repenting to animals we have harmed, so such as eating fish roe or eating meat, so we would repent to them. And then also giving back, essentially we would buy worms from Walmart and then release them to give them a chance to live. And then after attending these events, I thought to myself, maybe it wasn't the animals I harmed. Maybe I could become a vegetarian to harm these animals. And then that self-reflection of myself led to myself thinking about how do I become a better person. So this is one of the Chinese saying, 有舍就有得, meaning the more you give, the more you gain, which is essentially generosity. So I find that volunteering to help others in need through music and life in general, I feel better about myself, it's a healing process. And then the second point, Shifu, is
cherish what you have, not what you don't have. So as humans, we tend to think what we want to have more than what we actually need. So it's important to, cherish. And then the third point, 爱一切众生, which means love all beings. So no matter if they're humans, bugs, animals, anything, we all need to treat each other equally. And then the last point is 堂堂正正做人, meaning live an upright life with integrity. So all the things we do, you feel right about yourself. So like let's say people might criticize you for doing something you feel like is right. And it actually doesn't matter because, it's, their ideas and it's just your own values that you value yourself of what you think is right. So what's next today that I'm up to? So recently I've got like an invitation to volunteer at this orchestra, which I'll be doing at school in next quarter. And this is created by the Royal Philharmonic Orchestra. And basically this is like this rehabilitation program that allows, a group of stroke patients and, professional musicians and amateur musicians to group together and maybe help heal patients through music. And this is essentially to drive patients to, recover better through body movement, listening, and brain stimulation, and essentially have hobbies. So this is what I strive to, is essentially giving back to the community. And this is I'm very looking forward to this opportunity because this is giving back to patients who have strokes and also my idea of, music, And then the second idea is being respectful to the parents and also family members. Like they took the time to care for yourself, to care for you, love and provide support for you, and actually listen to you. So when even today in college, I realized how much they've done for me, involving the little details of cooking, running errands, grocery shopping, everything. It's when I'm in college, it's I end up doing that. So now I felt the need that, when I come home, just today now, I can try to, help them with housework, doing the laundry, just do little things, and it actually it's pretty healing. Yeah, so that's, thank you. Any other questions you have?
Thank you so much. I think that you have found the value of your parents and that in honoring them, and that to me that's the main thing. You reach that plateau or that realization that your parents are the most beloved people on this earth that are part of you, and you have that connection with them, and then you have learned to honor them.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. Oh, I once was lost, but now I'm found. The hour I first believed.
Very serious song. People that have found their way, found the light. Like many of the students found that, honor your mother, your father, and you found your way. You're lost, but you found your way. And see, great teachers that teach us how to find a way.
Right. Yes. Agreed.
I'm Allison's brother. So I just want to start off with this story. When I was in 8th grade, in middle school, I was very afraid of getting sick. my biggest fear was getting a fever because I really didn't want to die. I didn't really want to be bedridden. It was a very painful experience for me. And because of that, one time in the winter, my mom got sick. I saw that she was bedridden, very tired, and I thought she was contagious. I thought she was someone I should avoid, and someone that once she recovers, then maybe I can get up to speed with her. And I remember this time I was in the bathroom brushing my teeth, and she wanted to talk to me, just catch up on things. But I was like, no, I don't want to talk to you right now because you're sick, and I want to keep some distance, and then maybe afterwards we can catch up. But a few weeks later, I found out that she had breast cancer, and that was kind of a turning point in my life because I realized how ignorant I was, how I didn't truly understand what my parents were going through behind the scenes. I had no idea what was going on. All I was thinking about was getting sick. And this moment kind of taught me that there are other things outside of myself. Another thing that I learned is coming to terms with the finiteness of life, the finiteness of my parents' life, the finiteness of my life as humans. As children, you don't really understand too much about death. You kind of imagine that life will just go on forever. If today was a bad day, tomorrow will be a better one. That's okay. But at some point, there's no more tomorrow. At some point, today will be your last day. And oftentimes I think about, someday will be my parents' last day on this earth. And what kind of day would I want that to be? How would I want them to remember me, and how would I want to remember them? That's just something I think about a lot. I also think about it towards myself. Someday will be my last day on this earth. And what kind of person do I want other people to remember me as? And something that I have thought about a lot is the idea of understanding. I never really understood what my parents were going through until that moment when they told me, your mom has breast cancer. I realized that there's a lot of things that I don't quite understand, and I wanted to. And so since that day, I tried to ask more questions, try to understand why they do what they do, what makes them tick, what makes them get up in the morning. All these questions are really, really, really important questions that before this experience I had not thought about at all. It was just getting sick, whatever. And one final thing I would like to add is these conversations are something I seek out, even on the other side. Because in the past, it was me against my parents. And coming to terms with trying to understand who they are, why they do what they do, and why we have conflict, trying to understand that has allowed me to understand more about myself and allowed me to understand what truly matters to me and what kind of person I want to be tomorrow. Thanks.
Thank you for your presentation. What I have seen is that a lot of young teenagers, or especially the young adolescents, they think that life goes on forever, like you mentioned, but it's I think they need to realize that we're only here on this earth, on this planet, for a very short time. And every moment that we live is, we just don't know that we're only here for a little short time. To them, we're here forever, but we're not. And I think the young generation needs to realize that we're only here for a short time, and how we live this life, how we can contribute to our parents and society, but really most of all the parents. Parents they're the epitome of what, they are our reflection, and we're supposed to honor them and respect them, because they're the ones that gave us life. And all the things that they share for a reason. Your parents don't tell you things to harm you, they tell you things for your own good. And sometimes we don't realize it. I mean, I didn't listen to my parents when I was a kid either, so. But, you know, I look back and I say, you know, they're doing right. But we don't know that. It's one of those things that I think we need to instill in the kids that we're here just for a short time. Because right now kids are not realizing. And maybe that will help with the relationships. Thank you for your presentation, I really appreciate it. Thank you.
That the angels cried when mankind did fall from the grace of God. And do you believe that the Son of Man came to restore a path to life? And Jesus is Savior. Yes, Jesus is Savior. Oh, Jesus is Savior. Oh, He saved us from total condemnation. And do you believe that He's coming back to take all His children to the promised land? And with Him we'll live in one accord in the presence of the Lord. And Jesus is Savior. Oh, Jesus is Savior. Oh, Jesus is Savior. Oh, He saved us from total condemnation.